1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, and we are recording now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Aunt Ricky, and we're here for the Governor of the Riverbender debate. That's a very loud squeal. Don't pay any attention to that. We have all of our candidates here this evening, all but Robert Helling. He's going to be typing in his answers because he was unable to make it, and he only has like 4 votes. Here's the rest of the candidates we have. That was Robert Helling right there.
Hello.
We have Rusty T Baggins that's here this evening. We also have Frederick Slow, and we have Bradley Beck. And then I'm going to ask them a series of questions. They're going to come to the podium, and then we'll be concluding our debate. The race is very close between Mr. Beck and Mr. Slow. Sorry, I have the emphysema, and sometimes I have a hard time catching my breath. We predetermined who was going to go first, and it's going to be Mr. Slow. So, Mr. Slow, if you could please take the podium. Mr. Slow, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to give your introduction.
Hi and hello. I don't know if that sounds loud. That sounds good. Before I even start, Brad Beck has never been to the Hartford yard sale. I just am going to put that out there before anything happens. It is a glorious yard sale. It is held every August. It's the entire community. There's a fish fry that benefits firefighters, and Brad Beck has never one time in his entire life been, and I believe I heard him say he thinks it's terrible. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to let Mr. Beck come up and give his opening statement. Good evening.
Good evening, Aunt Ricky. Now, I know Mr. Slow is not taking this seriously because he brought up the Hartford garage sale. But I can tell you all that I can tell you I know for a fact that the only reason he's drinking Coors Light is because I gave it to him. And he's definitely not a member of the Sportsman's Club because we have standards. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Mr. Baggins, could you please come to the podium?
Am I in the shot?
I'm gonna warn you.
So is this where I'm supposed to say something?
I'm gonna warn you one time.
I have been to the Hartford yard sale.
I am not putting up with your shenanigans this evening. So I need you to give your opening statement.
All right. Oh, is that the camera I'm talking to?
Please be seated, Mr. Baggins. Please be seated. Mr. Helling, would you like to say anything?
I didn't even get a chance to talk.
I love yard sales. I drive myself and eat fish sandwiches. I am not a member of the Sportsman's Club. Thank you. You guys are losers.
Thank you very much. As Mr. Baggins composes himself, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with Mr. Slow. I'm going to ask him a series of questions. Mr. Slow, the city of Alton decided to get rid of the block parties in the downtown district this year. Do you think it was a bad idea? And if elected as governor, what would you do to create entertainment events in the Riverbend?
First and foremost, Brad Beck had a chance to meet Roseanne's Jackie Hayes, otherwise known as Edwardsville's very own Lori Metcalf. And he turned that opportunity down. He does not like Roseanne. He does not want Dan Connor to be his real dad. In block parties, yeah. No.
Mr. Beck, I'm going to give you a chance to respond. I'm going to ask you the same question.
All right.
If the city of Alton, do you need me to ask you the question?
What was the question?
The question is, if the city of Alton did decide to get rid of block parties in the downtown district this year, do you think it was a bad idea? And if elected as governor, what would you do to create entertainment events in the Riverbend?
Well, I think the answer to that is real simple. Do all of you know that Fred Slow hates the Blues? He literally hates the Blues. And recently my operatives have found out that he's a closet Cubs fan. So, you know, block parties or no block parties, let's just take and wrap a turban around his head and call him Obama. He's anti-Blues and pro-Cubs. Thank you.
Mr. Beck, when you mean the Blues, do you mean as in the music or as in the hockey club?
The St. Louis Blues.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Baggins, are you composed enough for me to ask you the first question?
What was that?
Number one.
Are you asking questions now?
The city of Alton decided to get rid of block parties in downtown district this year. In the off event that you elected,
Which is highly probable.
do you think this was a bad idea, and what are you going to do for entertainment?
I don't know what a block party is. I've never been to one. I did go to a swim meet out at Sportsman's Club this August. It was a muddy mess.
I thought that was a mud volleyball tournament there. There was a big turnout.
Well, it turned into one, is what it did.
Yes, it did. It was quite a big showing.
It was big and it was rich. And if you had the right tickets, you got to see them.
I see. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. What was the question?
I already asked it. Please be
Did I
seated.
answer it?
Please be seated. Mr. Helling.
I'm upstaged by a computer
I
voice,
can
just so
visit
you know.
McDonald's on Broadway. Free parking. Rose, and it's my mother in real life.
Man, a few words.
Okay. I think Mr. Helling's been, he's on the medication. Mr. Slow, come up here and we will ask you number two.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I might be rather handsome, but I am a woman, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
If you were on an internet news program and the host suggested that Robert Wadlow was 11 foot 8 and 3 inches tall, what would your response be?
That's tough. What it does is it puts the Riverbender in a bad position because Brad Beck hates King Louis root beer. Won't drink it. Thinks it's terrible. Basically hates America.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Beck. First, I'll give you a chance to respond to those allegations that you hate King Louis root beer.
I have no idea what King Louis is.
That's not helping. It's not helping your
It's
constituents.
not helping me.
No.
Heard it here first.
All right, what was the question?
If you were on an internet news program and the host suggested that Robert Wadlow was 11 foot 8 and 3/4 inch tall, what would your response be?
I guess, you know, in reality, my response would be, wouldn't it be nice if the Wood River Aquatic Center had 11 feet of water in it? Because the last time I heard, there was none. Is that going to be a skate park soon? We all know what Fred Slow has done down there. And he's draining the damn pool. So now our kids can't swim. Thank you.
Mr. Slow, would you like to answer these allegations that you have sprung a leak in the aquatic center?
It is 38 degrees outside.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Helling, would you like to reply?
Can you repeat the question?
Mr. Helling, you're on a news program. And the host says that Robert Wadlow was 11 feet 8 3/4 inches tall. What would your response be?
Sounds about right.
Thank you. Mr. Baggins. Mr. Baggins, are you going to be able to contain yourself?
Here? In what? Contain myself in what? Is that the
Mr.
question?
Baggins.
Did you guys get that question?
Mr.
too?
Baggins, I'm about to eject you from the debate. If you were on the internet news program,
Which I've never been.
and the host suggested that Robert Wadlow was 11 feet 8 3/4 inches tall, what would your response be?
It all depends. Was I mayor then, or was I running for election?
It's right now. I'm asking you the question right now.
As if I was running for election, and not the actual mayor.
You were actually running for governor of the Riverbend and not mayor. You should
Okay.
probably know what you're running for, Mr. Baggins.
All right, sounds about right.
Thank you.
Is that it? I'm on.
You may be seated, sir.
That's it? What did Rob say?
Mr. Slow. What theme song would best describe the other candidates in this race?
You put me in a tough position. What I want to say
I've been known to do that.
is Brad Beck does not think that Metallica's Black Album is the best Metallica album by far. He doesn't believe it.
Aunt Ricky's a little partial to Ride the Lightning.
And you would be, Sir Ricky, but what I'm saying is, if you think, by any stretch of the imagination, that the sequel Star Wars films are better than the originals like Brad Beck does, then I would understand why you've never enjoyed the sweet nectar that is King Louis root beer, as we went over in the previous segment, a staple of the Metro East, from now until I assume root beer goes out of favor, and it won't. And it won't.
Mr. Beck, is this true that you like Jar Jar Binks better than the Chewbacca?
All I got to say to Mr. Slow is, well, there you go again. Hold on a minute. I promised my manager I would Snapchat her during the debate. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
No, the song, sir. Please.
Song?
Yeah. What song would you describe the other candidates?
Is there a song about Bigfoot? Because I swear to God, I'm sitting next to Bigfoot, and there's like hair growing up out of his collar. I mean, how can you vote for somebody with hair growing up out of their collar? It's
I'm glad I'm not running. That's
It's
all I've
almost
gotta
unbearable over there. But again, hold on, one more
Would
time.
it be bearable
Hold on.
or unbearable?
Hold on,
with the hair?
one more time. Okay.
Thank
you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Helling. We must have
Turn
lost
down
you.
the what?
I'm sorry, please repeat.
Turn down the what?
Turn down the what? Thank you very much, Mr. Helling. Probably I think you're going to gain some votes with that answer. Mr. Baggins.
Those are questions.
Yes, sir.
Theme song.
Yeah, what have you been drinking?
Don't worry about that.
Theme song you would best describe under the candidates in this race.
The other candidates.
Yes, sir.
The Rain King. And
You're the only one laughing at your joke, sir.
come on. That was a good one. No. The Nowhere Man. Or The Voice. There, and Fred is just another one bites the dust. That's all I gotta say about that.
Thank you. Please be seated.
No, about that. So I got more stuff to say, really.
I'll give you an opportunity at the end of the debate. Don't make me get up.
You don't have time for that.
Mr. Slow. Which town, sir, is the best town in the Riverbend to visit and why?
Well, it's our town. It's my town. It's any town in the Riverbend that Brad Beck doesn't hate, and that's going to be hard to find. Brad Beck hates the Piasaw bird, and I didn't want to say it, but I'm going to. I have read some seriously disturbing Piasaw bird canon written by Brad Beck, allegedly, that states, no, I don't believe in the pie-saw bird, and that, sir, that's insulting. Go Birds!
Mr. Beck, there's some pretty strong accusations there. If I asked you about if you knew who Mr. Jackson was...
We have stopped. Mr. Slow, I grew up with the pie-saw bird. I know the pie-saw bird, and you, sir, are no pie-saw bird. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Beck, I just want one question. If I were to talk to you about Mr. Jackson, the substitute teacher, that could sing the pie-saw bird song, would you know what I'm talking about?
Mr. Jackson was a legend in this town. Nobody could have ever had protected Mr. Merlin like he did. Mr. Merlin was a legend, just like Mr. Bender. And I'm proud to have known Mr. Jackson, unlike the fact that I now know Fred Slow.
Thank you. Do you know what color his hair was?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Helling.
West Alton, I love Captain Jim's fireworks. Cheap cigarettes, cheap gas. Piazza who?
Pie-saw who? Thank you, son. Let's go to the next... Mr. Baggins, please come forward.
I gotta follow the voice. The voice is funny.
The voice is beating you.
How many votes for the voice? You don't know. Thanks for the live coverage. Good job. What are you doing?
Mr. Baggins.
Start losing the debate, you start getting mad, right?
Which town in the Riverbend is the best to visit and why?
In the Riverbend?
Yes, sir.
Every town. Every town.
Thank you very much. Mr. Slow.
You should fill up the tank in West Alton and give the tax money to Missouri, and then come back and act like you live here.
Mr. Slow, you very well get a large donation if you take Mr. Baggins out right now.
Brad Beck shot the pie-saw bird.
That's a very strong statement, Mr. Baggins. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Slow. If elected governor, sir, what would be your first proclamation?
I'd do one thing that Brad Beck won't do, and that's to take his family during the fall down the river road to see the beautiful fall colors of our delicious Mississippi coastline. Brad Beck hates zip lining, hates it, refuses to recognize weight restrictions. 275, Brad. They won't let me on that zip line, and you can and you won't. It's filled with hate, and by hate I mean of fall colors, beautiful, delicious Riverbend fall colors.
Mr. Beck, could you please take the podium?
What was the question again?
If you're elected governor of the Riverbend, what would be your first proclamation?
What was the question again?
Could you do the duck lips the next time? Aunt Ricky loves
I don't
the
know.
duck lips.
I don't know duck lips. Proclamation.
Yes,
You know, I think it's important to all the people of the Riverbend that we have free parking for anyone under 6'4". People that are over 6'4", like Fred Slow, are a burden on our society. I know that there are millions of tax dollars spent on people over 6'4", and the fact that Fred Slow collects welfare by being over 6'4" is just offensive to me and running for governor of the Riverbend. So my first proclamation of governor is that we would excise all people over 6'4" out of the Riverbend. Thank you.
Mr. Helling.
You are over 6'4".
What?
Free King Louie's root beer for all. Cancel the Riverbend Weekend News Show. Free hot dogs. I'm colorblind. Thanks for reminding me, friend.
Oh, Mr. Helling is colorblind. He can't see those delicious colors. And they are quite delicious. Mr. Baggins, what would be your first proclamation if elected governor?
Could you define proclamation?
What's the first thing you're gonna put into action?
I'm gonna put the boogie back into the Riverbend. Because I got it, you know?
Thank you.
You want a boogie, Aunt Ricky?
Not with you, sir.
Please, come on. You know you want it.
All right, so let's go the next question. I'm gonna go off the list here.
The king of boogie. What? You got something else?
Why do you keep giggling at me?
I'm like a schoolgirl, man.
Yes, you are.
Just so very attractive. That No Shave November is really working out.
I've hit the womanly change there, Mr. Baggins, if you must know. And I do have a little bit of growth. Mr. Beck, I think a large contribution to come your way if you take Rusty T Baggins out right now. Mr. Slow apparently wasn't man enough to do the job.
Fred, leave her alone.
Fred Slow is jealous of the rival wildlife.
Please be seated, Mr. Baggins. You're a mockery to this debate.
Hardly. Did you hear the voice? How outrageous is that?
Mr. Slow. The very fine gentlemen at the Riverbend weekend, they do a lot of charity work at Christmas time. What will you do this Christmas in the lines of charity work?
I'm fortunate enough in my position in life to help, and I help a lot of people. And what I don't do is I don't kick people when they're down, and I don't walk on the small guy or the 6'6" guy in this instance. If you can, find it in your heart to keep Brad Beck away from children. I can't say much more. He hates Santa Claus with a fiery passion that is unmatched by my hatred for the blues, which is real. There's no joke there. I just hate hockey. It's not a real sport to me. But Brad Beck will ruin Christmas if given the opportunity, like so many villains of our childhood. He's a childhood villain.
Thank you, Mr. Slow. Mr. Beck.
First of all, I find it hard to believe that Mr. Slow would even talk about Christmas. Have we ever seen an elf that's 6'9"? No. Even Santa discriminates against people as tall as Fred Slow because he understands that they are a burden on society. Also, my campaign operatives have recently found out that Mr. Slow has a misdemeanor for stealing one of the red kettles. That's right, folks. Right out in front of Walmart. He grabbed the red kettle and ran off. And we know this to be a fact. Just like we know that he doesn't drink King Louis root beer. But anyway, I like Christmas. Maybe Christmas doesn't like me. But again, Santa has no elves that are that gargantuan height that Fred Slow is. Vote for Brad.
Thank you very much. Mr. Helling, do you have an answer prepared?
Bah humbug. Curling is cool. The Christmas season, 2-3 also called the holiday season, especially in the US and Canada. 4-5 the festive season. 6, or simply the holidays, is an annual debate.
I don't know what just happened there. Mr. Slow. Mr. Baggins has left the building. Speaking of Christmas, which would you choose, We Are the World or that British song that I don't understand?
Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas is 20 years old this year.
Thank you. Mr. Beck.
I gotta be honest, I have no idea what Fred Slow just said. But there he goes again. You, sir, are no Pie Bird. We are the world. all the way. Thank you. Thank you, Michael Jackson.
Thank you very much. Mr. Helling. Mr. Baggins, do you know what Brovember is?
Fade to black.
Do you know what Brovember is? It's about getting them checked or getting them checked. Now, thank you. This concludes our debate.
I got a closing statement.
Mr. Slow has a closing statement. We're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm done with the shenanigans of this guy.
You're supposed to say Provember, and then you hit him in the nuts.
So, Mr. Slow, please come forward.
There's rules. There's rules.
Thank you.
This has been an honor and a blessing. I've learned a lot of things in my life, really good, positive things. Every day is the best day of my life. I want to thank a lot of people, my friends, my family, my fans, everyone in the Brolo Nation. The troops have rallied, and it's not a vote for me, but it's a vote against Pride Beck. When you recognize evil, you destroy it. And it's not that I fear him because he hates Charlie Silver Froze. He thinks Prince of Ollie's is terrible. I heard him say it out loud to a child, a small, hungry child. I've rang the bell, Brad Beck. That's Salvation Army bell ringer. I haven't rang it proverbially. I've actually done it. And I think it's unfair that you and your constituents feel that this election is a joke, because it's not. I can be the ambassador to the Riverbend, governor. And when I am, and I will be, my celebration will probably be held at the Sportsman Club. Obviously, I can't afford to rent it, so I'm going to need you to stop me. But when we're there, and all 240 or whatever votes I'm at right there are there with me, although most of these people, I assure you, do not live in the Riverbend. I have no fans here. I will come and I will say, Brad Beck, thank you for not allowing me to win, but giving people something to cheer against. I thought there'd be more. And when I did that in my head, I thought there'd be more of an applause at the end.
Yay.
Thank you, Mr. Slow. Thank you for that strong argument. It really brought a tear to my eye. Mr. Beck, anything to say closing?
In closing, I think everyone in the Riverbend knows when I walk into a room, it's a party. This is all about representing the Riverbend Entertainment District, and nobody parties like Brad. And I know sometimes I wake up in the morning and I don't remember the night before, but trust me, my wife reminds me, or my friends remind me, and sometimes even my employees. But the fact of the matter is that Brad Beck is a party. And if you go with me and you vote with me, we, the Riverbend, we're going to party. And maybe one of you can remind me tomorrow as to what happened. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Mr. Helling, any closing remarks that we can understand?
Thank you for not voting for Fred Slow or Brad Beck or Rusty T Baggins. That only leaves me. Rob Helling for governor of the Riverbend means you can keep the pool open in Wood River.
Thank you very much. Now this concludes our debate. Thank you for joining us. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Baggins, you had something to say?
Is that still on? I wonder. Is this still on? Robert Wadlow is 8'11" and 3/4 inches.
That sounds about right.
Okay. Fred Slow, Brad Beck, bad for the Riverbend. So many ways. Rob Helling, he's a voice electronically manipulated. Kind of like a really weird Stephen Hawking. He didn't even make sense. He wasn't even scientific about it. He was just out there. And Aunt Ricky, you've got to be one of the hottest women. So my first act as governor of the Riverbend, will be to ask.
And that concludes our debate tonight. He's not even on the camera now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Ricky.
Thank you for joining us. Go vote at Riverbend.
Excuse me, I'm
at
trying to
Riverbend. I don't even
talk to you.
remember the website right now. Can you tell them the website, please?
It's governor of the Riverbend, .riverbender.com. Go to the vote thing and pick me, Rusty T Baggins.
Thank you for watching, and God bless the Riverbend.
The future Mrs. Aunt Ricky.
Good night.
That concludes tonight's debate. Maybe. Is that the camera?
You're not even on camera.
Really?
It was just a microphone.
Are we out?
Sure.
It was just a
Hey.
microphone.
Did we even get any? Did we get any viewers at all?
Fucking great.
That was good.
Hey, we got one.
Still live, are you?
Hey, we still have.
Huh?
Great,
Still
thanks.
taping?
I was hoping not, because
Now it's. How do I have battery?